Hello again, everybody. Scott Casper, Takedown Wrestling, continuing our coverage of the sport. This one brought to you by the Tight Mercury Wrestling Club of San Marino, California. Let's go out to California. The second annual benefit for the Beat the Streets LA is coming up, and Kevin Lake is joining us. Kevin, how are you?
Very good.
Congratulations, first of all, on the success that you, Yaru, and so many have had. The board has got to be awfully proud of the success that the Beat the Streets LA has had. You guys have been leading quietly and doing so that is with an effort that's affecting the lives of so many young kids. First of all, let's revisit perhaps the last 6 months to a year, where you've been and where you are today.
Well, as you say, we kind of been just quietly working away out here. We've grown really quickly. We've been really fortunate through our supporters and people that feel strongly about our programs. And we've grown now. We're looking at 20 programs serving about 700 kids across Los Angeles. So
Wow.
Since that time, since a year ago when we had our annual benefit, we've grown from about 14 programs now to 20 and another 200 or so kids. So it's been a pretty amazing journey, and we just keep plugging away out here.
Kevin Lake, Program Director for Beat the Streets LA, joins us today. Yaru Washington, Executive Director. Marcy Van Duzen, the recent mommy, right?
Yeah.
Program
She's
coordinator,
Jordan,
and
yeah.
of course, Valentine Kalika, the coach's education coordinator. Neat staff that you have assembled, but there are so many people that are not listed out. You have relationships that are helping you grow the Beat the Streets effort into the community. Can you talk to us about those? Because that's what makes it all click.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a whole group of people. Our board of directors are amazing, and I've spoke on many of them often. And Brian Guerrero always comes to mind because anything that you see and externally is a lot driven by him and his vision for our marketing. And Tyler Bear is a wrestling name for you. That was an NCAA finalist from Cornell. That's relatively new to our board, and his impact has been great in the last year and a half now that he's been with us. And it's just it's amazing the people that we've been able to surround ourselves with and grow and like I said before, it's just been an amazing journey, and we're just going to keep plugging away. This annual benefit is really an opportunity for us to kind of reflect on the last year and celebrate a little bit. But really, more than that, is to look forward and to see what the future holds for Beat the Streets in Los Angeles. And I always kind of say wrestling in Los Angeles is kind of like awakening the sleeping giant. I always think there's just so much potential out here, and there really is a history of wrestling. If you dig into it a little bit, you'll find some great names like the Schultz brothers, and UCLA had some national champs back in the day. And so as we kind of go down this journey, we've discovered this community of wrestlers here that are really passionate about it. And I think the potential here in Los Angeles is unlimited.
So you have an event coming up that will be, I call it a celebration of your efforts more than anything, because it's a way to throw a party for a good reason. It's also a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And it does quite well. It's what I call a sparkling event, one
Yeah.
that we are pleased and proud to be invited to. This will be the second edition. What can you tell us about this year as compared to last year? Last year I got to hold an Olympic torch.
Yeah.
I fell through a bench, and I will say this to my credit. I'm a big guy, but it was a poorly made bench. And I think somebody got a bill for $10,000 for the artistic bench or something like that. But anyway,
Yeah, that was you, right?
I think it remains unpaid. So let's talk a bit about this year's event. Where will it be held? What can you tell us? I know it's early, but anytime you plan an event like this, you've got to get after it.
Yeah, it is early, and we're kind of finalizing the details. And last year was the venue was a really interesting place, and that's something that we plan to do again. It won't be in the same venue, but it'll be a memorable place, and hopefully the furniture is a little bit stronger. But it's going to be near downtown LA. It's just a little bit west of downtown. And what's really unique about the location this time is it's very convenient for the World Cup and the delegations that'll be in town that week. And so, as you remember, last year we were fortunate to have several of the international delegations attend the event, and our hope is to do that again this year. And with our event on Friday and then the World Cup kicking off on Saturday, it's just going to be a great weekend of wrestling and supporting of wrestling, all from the youth all the way to the senior level.
So we're going to invite fans out there to save the date, April 10th, 2015, for Los Angeles, California. Beat the Streets LA will hold its annual benefit, and it's designed, of course, to raise awareness, to raise funds, at the same time having a ball. I just got to tell you, I took away so many positive things from that evening, the camaraderie, the sense of community that you're building, and those supporters that are doing things for all the right reasons. You mentioned your board. One of the great benefactors of Beat the Streets LA and of wrestling in general is Andy Barth. At some point, you knew we were going to get around to talking about him. I usually do. What a guiding light he's been for your organization and for the sport.
He really has, in more ways than financial, just guidance and his vision for the way that we've been able to grow has just been, you can't really put into words the impact that he's had on just hundreds of youth here in Los Angeles, and I know his hope is for it to be thousands of youth, and I'm sure it will be as we continue to grow. And as you mentioned before when we were talking, he's just a great human being, and he's been a fantastic mentor to me, not just in my work but in my life, and just really fortunate to have a guy like Andy kind of leading the way for us.
He's very bright, and he can come up with an idea, and it's up to us to execute. And that perhaps is the biggest job, because you don't want to disappoint him. And I want to go back to the impact the organization is having on the community. We often look at the girls and the boys that are wrestling on the mats. And Beat the Streets is having, I think, a greater impact on the families that it serves, the schools that are benefiting from the activity, but the parents. Let's talk a bit about that, because the parents are endorsing the idea of having their kids involved in this sport, and they're receiving a better product in the children that are competing. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's really, nothing that we've done up to this point have been, performance driven. Our goal isn't necessarily to create great wrestlers, but just to create this vehicle for them to learn those lifelong lessons of character building, accountability, perseverance, those things. And so when we talk to the parents, it's interesting because I'll tell you two quick stories. One was from a wrestling parent who had an older child and had kind of gone through the wrestling process, and then now a younger child who's been involved with Beat the Streets program. And his comment was, when you guys first got here, I wasn't bought in. The way that you were teaching wrestling, it's fun, it's exciting, the kids enjoy it. He said, I didn't get that. Now I see my youngest son, he loves wrestling practice. He loves going to it. It's been a change for him in his son's life, and then ultimately as a parent in his life, because he sees his son, this is something that makes him happy and is a worthwhile pursuit. Comparatively to his older son, who, kind of the drudgery of practice was difficult, and there was crying and those things. And so our approach has really, positively affected their family and as a whole. And then another quick story was, there was a parent who spoke to me about a child who has autism, high functioning autism. And for her, wrestling became something for her son that he looked forward to. And it was the only thing outside of kind of his schoolwork that he looked forward to in kind of a social setting. And she just couldn't express her gratitude for wrestling and what it's done for her son. And to hear that and to have her share that story with me just affirms everything that we've done and how we've grown. And, I just hope that there's probably countless more stories like that. And I'm sure that there will be countless more as we move forward.
I'll go off on your touch on autism there for a moment. There's Wrestle Against Autism in several communities, specifically out east, that we've been involved with, helping to raise money for service dogs. The sport itself has served to be a valuable outlet for the energies of those that are suffering from autism. And the kids are changing before our very eyes. Once they are involved with wrestling, let's say they have Angelman's syndrome, and that very loving kids, and they want to hug you before they wrestle you.
Right.
And that puts off those that aren't suffering from autism. That they may put them off a little bit. But boy, when they start having fun and they start wrestling, look out. It's a neat deal to see what wrestling and that physical release can do for a young person suffering from autism. So I find that gratifying indeed that you would hear that from a parent. And I'm sure at some point it's a relief for her as well, because not only is his son participating in a positive activity, he's releasing a lot of that tension that's built up. And there's a lot of tension in the lives of these young people suffering from autism. So
Absolutely.
I'm real grateful to hear that. So 2014 overall, a successful year for Beat the Streets LA. 2015 looks like it will be as well. It's not often we get events like the World Cup, but for the second year in a row, we will be back in Los Angeles for the World Cup. How excited are you?
I'm really excited, especially now that we've had it and we got one under our belt, and it's going to be an amazing event. As you remember, the venue is just outstanding for wrestling, and as I mentioned before, the wrestling community here is really becoming more aware, and I think the World Cup is going to be a direct reflection of that. You're going to see some passionate fans, as we did last year, but even more so this year, and we're grateful to be a part of it. Our kids get to go see it, and it's funny because I was speaking with some parents the other day, and we took about 250 kids to the World Cup last year, and some parents came along, and the parents were just couldn't believe the level of wrestling that they were able to see, and it's just really neat to hear. And like we said, we're a youth development organization, but obviously the parents get to benefit from some of our work too. So we're really excited about that. And then let me tell you real quick, we have another first time event coming up next weekend, this coming Sunday. We're taking a group of 100 kids to go watch Cal State Bakersfield wrestle San Francisco State up in Bakersfield, and so we've got taken a couple bus loads up. It'll be the first time for many of these kids to see a college wrestling match, and in almost every case, the first time on a college campus. And so the outreach group at Bakersfield is going to take them on a little campus tour and spend some time with them, and we'll get to meet with the team and then watch them hit the mats against San Francisco State.
I like that, what you guys are doing, and this may simplify the overall view I have, but Kevin as a program director, Yaru again, et cetera, the idea that you guys are doing here, or what you're actually accomplishing, you're opening doors, and doors that may, they may swing both ways, but some kids are afraid to go through those doors, specifically if there's been no example of going through those doors prior to. I was the first in my family to go through college, and it was a scary experience. You're going to an institution of higher learning, and you don't really know what you're doing or why you're doing it. So I'm applauding the fact that you're taking these kids to the CSUB meet, and so many. They're going to be able to see wrestling at a different level, and they're going to see colleges, college campuses, and have a different look, a welcoming look perhaps, at that collegiate experience. And gosh knows, a little further education past K through 12 is not a bad thing. I think
Not at all. Not at all.
I benefited in a big way, that's for sure. I think I'm still learning to this day. It turned me into a lifelong learner.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
And Kevin, if that's what Beat the Streets LA is for all these kids that you are serving and all these families that are benefiting, I can only challenge you to continue on doing an outstanding job out there, and we're all very proud of what Beat the Streets LA and Beat the Streets across the country is doing in all the communities that it's in. But I really, really have a great affection for Beat the Streets LA. I love the atmosphere. I love the ideas and the way you're putting it forward. Congratulations to all you guys on a successful 2014, and I'll look forward to seeing you. Folks, make sure you put this event on your date, on your schedule, rather. It's a very special date. It's the second annual benefit. Again, it will be Friday the 10th of April in Los Angeles. You'll want to stay tuned to the beatthestreets-la.org website. Again, that's beatthestreets-la.org. We'll try to keep you up to date on our television programming, whether it's USA Wrestling Weekly or Takedown every week in the 70 million homes we serve. We'll do our best to keep you up to date, but make sure, again, you lock in that date. It's a lot of fun, and it's for all the right reasons. Kevin Lake has been our guest. Kevin, on the way out, anything I didn't cover that you would like to?
No, absolutely. I think we covered it all. Just ticket sales will be going soon. We'll get that information out to you. I'll save a special one for you, and maybe even a special chair for you, so you don't.
Maybe a wheelchair this time. After my last experience, hey, beautiful place, wonderful folks, and I felt just absolutely terrible about breaking their chair. But you know what? I haven't broke a chair in years. Anyway, Kevin Lake, thank you so very much for the time today. Again, my challenge to you, my friend, is to continue on. Great staff there, Beat the Streets LA, doing wonderful things for a lot of good people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.